as if they knew. We saw that final concert happen. And then on today, July 22nd, 2025, I'm happy that I learned the way that I learned. I recently got reunited with my personal old school high school heavy metal militia. Started going to some shows. In fact, we um, we had an amazing time this last Friday catching this great band out of Mexico called The Warning. Three crazy great performers out of Mexico. Um, Saw them in the city, and I've been catching a lot of shows with these dudes, and it's funny because yesterday we they it was in a this old school, it's old school, was it's text chat that that Michael Jamal Warner, they told me about Michael Jamal Warner from the Cosby Show yesterday, who drowned. But it's apt that the Heavy Metal Boys, one of them was the one who dropped on us, and it was in the virtual embrace of the Heavy Metal Brothers that one of us let the rest of us know that at the age of 76, John Michael Ozzy Osbourne has ascended. Hey, 76, there are definitely people in his economic demographic. We're going to post higher numbers, but we can't say that the man didn't live a life, and you'll never be able to say that the man didn't make an impact, not only on the lives of his fans through his music, but let's not forget, husband, father of six, and grandfather. A life lived and a passing, taking it at its word and what are words worth, especially the words of PR, press statements, where yesterday one man at 54 on vacation with his family was accidentally pulled out to sea, drowned, fighting, no doubt, struggling for his life. Another man the next day passes at 76 at peace. Her name is Jonaside. How did he pass? Apparently, he passed in bed, surrounded by family. That's what how the story goes. And I think we can't speak for him. We don't know his life, but we can hope that the narratives are true and hope the best for everything, and that he had the full benefit and succor and comfort of the faith that he always espoused in public, and that he was at peace with himself and his salvation, and was not distressed at what he felt awaited him on the other side. And when people pass, their journey is their journey. And those who remain to remember, to gather around Oren, say hello to you in the live chat, and to pay tribute, pay homage, and console ourselves to the degree that consolation is necessary. And consolation may not be necessary, for everything can be looked at in many different ways. The man at the end was known to have complaints related to the body, related to pain and discomfort. And we now know that those struggles are at a cease, are at a cessation, and are over. And as Oren Connecticut points out in the live chat, the music lives on forever at least. And what is forever? After forever. This too shall pass. I'm two things. One thing I want to say, so number one, I love Ozzy Osbourne. It's in the description box below. From Sabbath to solo, I celebrated this man's work. But I also want to say, to the best of my knowledge and understanding, I beat Josh Saunders to the tribute video. Missy man can't afford Patreon. Hey, Oren, just so you know, the Patreon, you can join the Patreon even as a free member. You go over to the Patreon page, you'll see you can, kind of like register, kind of, I think, as even as kind of like there's like a way to kind of put yourself in the loop, even as kind of like a free member. I think as a kind of a public thing, because I do sometimes make announcements there, just as you know, to the general populace. Like if I'm making an announcement about like an upcoming stream on something on a different channel, but I totally dig it. You know, believe you me, I'm very much aware of the fact that um, there's a lot of stuff going on, and in this world, there's a lot of stuff to take care of. There's a lot of bills to pay, and I'm also aware of the fact that um, in a world where a lot of people are passing the hat, there's a lot of people passing the hat that are like, like I said, like kids without eyes. You know what I mean? People fighting to, stop wars. And I'm out here like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, guys. I'm goofing around on the internet. And you find that entertaining. And I know there's a lot of other people entertaining you, but you know what I mean? Give me your money. Give me your money. You know what I mean? Like, and whenever I'm like free and honest with that honesty and information, I'm like, damn, like, but don't forget, I'm being totally honest and sincere. So don't torture a dude financially because of that. Like, still give me your money, but only if you really can afford it. But like, who can, like, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why like honesty doesn't pay. But Ozzy Osbourne. And points that I always like to make when I talk about Black Sabbath, when I talk about Ozzy Osbourne, is for a band that people always associate with Satan, right? And evil. One of the amazing things about Black Sabbath, and this doesn't apply to all of Ozzy's lyrics, and it doesn't apply to, um, uh, obviously everything, but especially the early Sabbath stuff, you know, it's a very, very easy argument to make that not only was Black Sabbath the first heavy metal band, they were the first Christian metal band. Really, one need only go to Geezer Butler's, who was the primary lyricist on the first Black Sabbath records, and uh, the many interviews that he's given over the years about the inspiration behind their lyrics, and what they felt and they thought about the things that they were speaking about and the things that they were writing about, to know and understand that um, yeah, while they were singing about witches and wizards and the Black Sabbath, there was no advocacy there for the darker powers. It was all a warning. It was all stay away from this stuff. It was all, they're going to trick you, and you know what I mean? It was they were, saying the exact same things that their hippie contemporaries were saying about, war and everything. They were just coming at it from a kind of the other angle. They were just describing, instead of espousing, a lot of the, peace, love, and light stuff. They were saying, yeah, you should do that stuff because check out, how horrible things are on the other side. Black Sabbath is not a song about, hey guys, let's go to the Black Sabbath because it's a fantastic thing. No, you know what I mean? And uh, it really kind of sets the for me, looking at this stuff and talking about it over the years and thinking about it with people over the years, it's it was always so interesting as a metalhead because you see that the misunderstanding that often occurs with art, whether it's cinema or whether it's books or literature or even comics or or music or art that goes on the walls, isn't just misunderstanding that comes from the outside, preachers and parents who just don't get this heavy metal thing. There's often so many times where you can tell that the misunderstanding can come from the community itself. Geezer Butler, Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, Bill Ward would talk about it all the time. They were all Christians. None of them had any interest in black magic or Satanism or dealing with anything involving doing bad. Not to say that I don't want to get into a theological. I'm not going to get involved in. Hold on, my apologies. Just do this. Um, where they would say that it was freaky to them in the beginning with people showing up, dressed all in black or, burning candles or coming outside of their hotel rooms and, seeing altars and stuff, and that they would, feel the need to, sometimes double down, though they weren't, altar boys necessarily. And they obviously got involved in, different varieties of shenanigans. Got to do your spell check there, Mario. We see you on Twitch, but you got to do your spell check there on Ronnie James Dio. Um, Yeah, but that's another example. People misunderstand oftentimes what things are about, and that also the notion of that just because it is a cult or occulted or mystical or magical doesn't necessarily mean that it's affiliated with or in league with Satan. I don't know what the hell my phone's doing. Let me do this. No worries, man. But it is what it is. People are people, and appreciation of the music at the end of the day, hey, it's music. The man is part of musical history. A singer's singer? No. A distinct voice? Absolutely. A voice for rock and roll? 100%. Though there will be debates among some, there will never be debate for me about whether or not the first Black Sabbath record is the first heavy metal record. To me, it's settled. That's the first heavy metal record of all time, and therefore he's the first vocalist on the first heavy metal record of all time. And forget about it. I mean, talk about an influential body of work. Those first Black Sabbath records, there is a whole genre of music, some with many splinters: doom metal, stoner metal, sludge metal, that is basically taking the blueprint of the core sounds of these. Like, there's literally songs on these. Like, not only did these first records influence whole genres of music, there's songs that have, like, were blueprints for styles of sub styles of music on these first Sabbath records, without a doubt. There'll be musicologists who will be able to tell you that this particular track on this first Black Sabbath record is the blueprint for these sort of stoner metal. There are whole bands that I know that basically just do this track. You know what I mean? There are whole bands that I know. Forget about the fact that there's a band called Spirit Caravan. I mean, there's whole bands that that just basically do Planet Caravan. You know what I mean? Like, that's do for albums, right? You know what I mean? Let's talk about Tony. Let's talk about this. It's a package, right? Genocide points out, I forgot Black Doom Viking folk metal. How dare? Hey, listen, I'm only human, and I'm reeling in shock here over the loss. That's just one genre, by the way. Hey, listen, I know. Listen, you don't need to throw it in my face just because I forgot to name it. And it's a generational thing too. It's also us getting ready to, folks. It's 1 month from my 50th birthday, and 22 is my magic number. Tom Tremaine. This is big news. It's the top story being carried by the BBC in the UK right now. Now, listen, folks, now I got to tell you something. Splintered Sunlight, okay? Watch this. We've got Chegs36 here. Hey, everyone. I've had the radio on all day, and there was no mention of this sad news in the UK. Okay? And then we have Tom Tremaine saying this is big news. It's the top story being carried by the BBC in the UK right now. BBC Radio 2. Now, it's 1 month after their birthday. Now, I'm just pointing this out to tell y'all that this is the modern world we live in. When I was growing up, we used to joke about the fact that the UK was still stuck in, they only got 4 channels, right? And the TV turns off at midnight, like 10 o'clock or whatever. But now they're just like everyone else, everywhere else in the world. Depending on where you are, depending on who you are, depending on what you listen to, you're you're in a different media space. When I was in college and back in 1990, pick a year, so I can, whatever, let's say 1996. I had a communications professor. His name was Professor Chesler. Great guy, crazy guy. And he was saying about that. He was talking about 1996. He was talking about like 1996, and he was talking about that, right? This is like, he was talking about like the world then. And he was saying how back when he was kind of growing up, that everybody had a kind of collective media fireplace because there were only four stations in America, three or four stations in America. And when they said that I Love Lucy was the hit show in America, the number one show in America, that was because everyone in America was used to watch I Love Lucy. They used to say that that New York City had to accommodate for the fact that when there was a commercial break on these hit TV shows like I Love Lucy or Leave It to Beaver or whatever, they had to kind of build into their systems and start accommodating their systems and change things around, because all of a sudden major metropolitan sewer systems, and this should tell you something about the power of media at that time, had to deal with something that they never had to deal with before, and that was everybody simultaneously flushing the shitter at the same time. Tom Tremaine. Yes, darling. Come on. We get it. Tom, thank you. You remind me why I never take the opportunity to be an associate professor at a local college, because I never want to deal with myself at your age. No, I mean, which I know you're like probably 5 years younger than me. God bless you. God bless you, sir. I love you. Child of God. Child of Goddess. Child of Ozzy Osbourne. Castor Vaughn, we see you too. Come on, man. Ozzy Osbourne just died. It's not something to laugh at. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, bro, but come on now. Tom Tremaine, ladies and gentlemen, laughing at Ozzy Osbourne's passing. It's sick. Sick. Speaking jokes. Jakey Lee would have appreciated the joke. Genocide. It's rare that a celebrity dies and you feel like you lost a friend. Ozzy feels this way. You know, part of it is I saw you mentioning the fact that when you got your first Ozzy tape, part of it is the amount of time you may have known him in your life. Um, when I first became a heavy metal kid, when I first became a metalhead, Catherine, let's be real, Ozzy raised all of us. There you go. Um, it was already an established culture, right? And you were already taught, here are the background, here are the established historical precedent people you have to familiarize yourself. And I remember amongst my derelict crew forming right from the start. We see you, and I don't know, what's going on. We see you. I don't know what I may or may not have done, but you'll let me know. Um, oh, absolutely not. No, 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 no. You're not blocked. You're not blocked. No one's gonna be blocking you, baby. No one's gonna be blocking you. Um, we knew that we had some work to do. We knew that we had, with our limited number of financial resources, we knew that not only did we have to get the latest thrash metal tapes that we were desperate to get, we knew that we also had to get the we had to fill our historical. We needed to put together our library. We needed to get our historical library together. Remember, this was um 86, 87. There was no streaming. There was one local heavy metal radio station, WSOU Pirate Radio, um, and where we were, we could kind of like, the reception was like iffy at best, and and so we had to, in between getting, and a lot of these bands were still, Judas Priest were still putting out records, like great records like Turbo. Iron Maiden were putting out great records, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, but we knew that there was still back catalog we needed to get. So we needed to fill in the blanks with the Iron Maiden. Now remember, when it was 86, 87, the first Iron Maiden record was just like 6 years old. But we thought it was like ancient history, right? To us. And you need to get the Sabbath, you need to get the Ozzy solo stuff. But that was the joy, learning about the history and getting those great old tapes and records, man. You know what I mean? I have Number of the Beast on vinyl. I have Power Slave on vinyl because it was on sale. I have Somewhere in Time on vinyl, dude. But we're talking about That's Maiden. But whatever. But I'll never forget Blizzard of Oz. I'll never forget debates. Debates. I remember there was like this, like, I think it was like in like eighth grade, they had some sort of like debate exercise in one of my classes, and it was me versus like some like preppy kid, and we were like debating suicide, like the merits or like problems with the song Suicide Solution, because like it was like the big thing was like some kid killed himself, because it was like about that song. It was like, no, it's about this. It's like, no, it's about that. And we were like, and I was like a heavy metal kid in eighth grade. So I'm like all passionate. I'm like, like the teacher had to call off the debate because it was like, it almost like came to blows. You know what I mean? It was like ridiculous. We were acting like we got so impassioned about it. Like we were like, it was like out, and I was like a heavy metal, like, and of course I'm like listening to heavy metal for like 2 years at that point, but I'm acting like, you know what I mean? Like, it's about freedom of speech. I'm like acting like, you don't even know what the song's about. You know what I mean? It's about drinking. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, I don't even know. It was just crazy. But that was the beauty of it. And that's why we feel it is such a loss, because this stuff and these experiences go back to points in time when we were young enough and we were impressionable enough to believe in stuff in a way. Bob White, how sad I am just finding out now. It's not sad, man. You know what, Bob? You don't have to be sad about it because, hey, for what it's worth, you're finding out here and now. Guttural Darkness joining us as well. I remember when Ozfest started to become a phenomenon. I'll tell you a story. The very first Ozfest, I did not go to. I've never been to an Ozfest. Um, but I could tell you a story about the very first Ozfest. At the time, I was dating, but not really dating. I was like seeing this kind of crazy gal, really crazy gal, and we kind of had a feeling that it was kind of coming, apart. I'm not. Maybe I won't go into the story. It'll be an attenuated story. It'll be crazy. Guttural Darkness says, I'm broken. I'm broken, man. Literally just opened a restaurant today, and one of the signature burgers is a Mosborn. Wow, that's beautiful. Yeah, Suicide Solution is about alcohol and Bon Scott's death. I remember reading about Hit Parade or some mag, and we talked about. Yeah, I made a this response video to our friend King Cobra JFS, where he was talking about Suicide Solution, absolutely misunderstanding it and being like, "Well, we talked about misunderstanding." So hold on one second. And I sincerely apologize. Hold on one second. I had the mention of the Mozzie Osbourne burger. I just, you know what I mean. I had this food on the side, and I resisted. I was going to eat before, but I was so desperate to go live with the tribute stream that I forgot to start eating. And then we started talking about the burger, and I just was like, I couldn't resist. I apologize for eating on stream. I know that's kind of gross, But well, I gotta keep an eye on the time too. What time am I supposed to be there? Oh no, no, I know what's going on. Okay. Yeah. No, 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 no. I know. You know, King Cobra will milk this for all it's worth. I'm not upset with myself, but I did. You know what I mean? I did sink in and be like, I beat Josh to the tribute stream. That's like it. I felt like that. Like it sullies it a little bit, just a little bit. But you know, but my love is sincere. But I will not lie. I was like, I'll eat something before I go, but I'm not. I'm such a YouTube hoe. I'm not gonna lie, but have it be a mark of my honesty. Have it be a mark of my sincerity and my transparency. That even though I could have waited like 4.5 minutes and like scarf this down, I was so like I was looking at it and I was like, if I wait and Josh goes live first, I'll kill my. I wait. No, I can't. That's a figure of speech. Hello, virtual reality, Google, YouTube thing that monitors this thing. That's a figure of speech. Okay. I would not have unalived. I wouldn't have Minecrafted myself. I wouldn't have done anything bad to myself. That was a figure of speech. That's a joke. It's not even a joke. It's a figure of speech. I would have been upset with myself because I have not properly put things in perspective. Why am I talking? Why am I looking around like the Google virtual thing? That's like how crazy our world is. Anyway, this is an Ozzy Osbourne tribute stream. The guy was great. The music was fantastic. Yeah, Josh, the number one Ozzy Osbourne fan, doesn't listen to the dude's music, right? Enough to understand that Suicide Solution. First of all, he doesn't listen to the guy's music enough to know. First of all, the guy would constantly suggest to Ozzy Osbourne, a person in recovery, in active recovery, that he do this, and the other thing to deal with his pain, whatever. Then he would also do this, that, and the other thing, talk about all these things about, you know, whatever, whatever. When, you know, by the way, and FYI, in case you're curious, your number one uh, celebrity super crush is, my understanding, it was a born again Christian. So it is what I, but whatever. Anyway, Ozzy Osbourne, business decisions made by Sharon. Some of them were obviously not fantastic. There have definitely been broken hearts along the way. You know what I mean? There are definitely problems. Guttural Darkness says, anyway, gotta head out. I'll give you a sub. RIP Ozman. I think the Moz burgers will be hot tonight. Gonna pump some Sabbath and Oz all night. Take care, all. Make sure you let people know that the coincidental timing and that it's not a cash in. And feel free to clip this stream, this portion, to let them know that I said that I was aware of the fact that you mentioned that it was already named the Matzo Mozzie Burger beforehand. And they'll be like, who's this guy? And no, and they'll probably be like, yeah, it's cool. You named it in tribute on the day. Ah. Take care. Good luck. And thank you for the sub from the bottom of my heart. Rock on. See you. See you on the other side. Right? There you go. Guttural Darkness. We hardly knew you. Anyway, so yeah, Ozzy Osbourne, you know? And as we move through the journey of life, as we get older, we will see more people that we were used to from our youth pass. And that puts things in context. And that's life. And the kids today, they do everything streaming. And the kids today, who's their Ozzy Osbourne? You know, I got off on probably several tangents. Take care, Jonas. We'll see on the other side if we're still here, and if we're not, you'll always be able to just listen on from the portion where you chiefed out. It'll be fine. Thank you for being here for the time that you were. Um, I was talking about collective memories and collective media memories, and back in the day when there you go. No, I said my kid was like Renee Miss Jonas said my kid was like he was old, and I informed this, about the grandparents. No, yeah. No, it is what it is, and yeah, it's also realizing that some of your heavy metal idols were just a few years younger than your folks. That's also a kind of a wake up call sometimes. But the collective media memories, going back to Professor Chesler, the back when back in the mid '90s, when pursuing a degree in communication seemed like a wise move. I didn't end up getting the degree in communication, but it was a communications course. He was talking about there was a time when you could get on an airplane and everybody could start a conversation with anybody about what happened last night on I Love Lucy or the Milton Berle show or Father Knows Best. Because when those shows were defined as the number one show in the nation, it was because like the percentage of households in America that were tuned into that show when that show was on to make it the number one show in America was like, like 90% of the TV sets in America. Like it was some ridiculous number. And as time goes on, there's more stations, there's regional stations, there's more shows on offer at different times. And that starts to break down and people start watching different things. And so we go from a society where this burgeoning media starts bringing us all together around a kind of collective electronic fireplace where everybody of a certain generation remembers where they were when the Beatles went on Ed Sullivan or when Elvis started gyrating and all of a sudden the camera shot up. Renee Miss Jonas said, I remember making Christmas trees from old TV guides. The TV guide. We go from a society where this media starts drawing us together and becoming a kind of collective memory to where, in the professor's words, he said, well, we go to today, and he was talking about the today of 1996, 1995, 96, 97. He goes, now, even in my small apartment in Manhattan, the one kid is watching, some terrible horror movie in his on a VHS tape in his bedroom. The wife is watching a cooking show in the kitchen. I'm watching a cable television about Reverend Ray Green. Whatever gets you through the day, send him upstairs. God bless you. While I don't toke upon the marijuana cigarette, if it gets you to where you need to go to pay tribute to the man, to your higher power, Lord of mercy, one love, right? The more and more media options available. And remember, he was talking about the mid 90s when he was talking about cable TV and VHS tapes on rent, All of a sudden, we're all watching different things. And I've talked about this recently. Nowadays, my children, their peer amongst their own peer group, the one kid likes one anime on the streaming service, another kid likes another anime on the streaming service. They're all watching all these different things. And we wonder about and they're all listening to these streaming services, and oftentimes they're listening to music on these streaming services, and you'll ask them, well, what is this song? What is this? What is that? And they'll be like, I don't know, lo-fi, whatever. It's just, it all goes by. And even for themselves, you wonder, where will the nostalgic return be, or will it be possible? And while there have been times when I've been like, and that means, in conclusion, that we're all going to hell in a handbasket, are we're gonna we're doomed. It's a Mark Fisher. We can't imagine a positive future. You know what I mean? It's a nostalgic loop. Nowheresville, Ghost in the Machine, Haunted Castle. We're screwed. I try to bring myself back and say it's an is what it is situation. This too shall pass. It's whatever. We're on a collective journey as a society, and we'll see what happens. There have been points in history that were consistent, and then those points of consistency shifted and changed. We have the tunes to play. Without a doubt, there will be more Ozzy Osbourne music played today than there was yesterday. But then slowly over time, the marked tendency of Black Sabbath and the Ozzy Osbourne music, of having been a product of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, whatever they were doing in the 2000s, will keep on being points in time, receding further into what we perceive of as the past. And that's okay. And nobody knows what the future holds. And we're reasonably assured of what happened yesterday. That's a Bob White. That's a fact. You will hear Ozzy for a good minute if you listen to FM or satellite. Ozzy also has his own Sirius channel. Absolutely. Ozzy Osbourne. Is it still Ozzy Osbourne's Boneyard? I remember listening to satellite radio when I had my dad for a while had some time on his lease. He had a what was he driving? He had a Lexus, and he had a couple. He had to retire from driving, but he still had years on his. He had a couple of years left on his lease, so I got to drive it for a good hot minute, like a baller, and it had satellite radio in that bad boy. So I was listening to Hair Nation, rocked out to the Eddie Trunk. Oh man, Eddie Trunk, he's gonna be talking about it. Jimmy Buffett passed years ago, and his channel goes on. Paranormal Hood Live joining us. Absolutely. How you doing, Paranormal Hood Live? Hey, R.I.P. Jiggy. Right? 3 years passed. Right? Probably about that. 2022, February 10th, 2022. About right. We come. We do. We go. We stumble and we fall, but we can bring ourselves back up. And we can't speak from authority from the fan's perspective. From the fan's perspective, right? I'm no insider, right? I'm no insider. I, like you, get the PR dispatches and read what I read on Blabbermouth, right? But if what I hear is what I hear and what I hear is correct, then Ozzy Osbourne died in recovery. He died sober. And the last drink I know, hold on, let me show you something. I said February 10th. Hold on. February 10th. Oh, you can't see this. It says February 10th, 2022 on this little sticky. Okay? That's the day that Jiggy passed. I know we're talking it's a tribute to Ozzy, but all of a sudden, God bless Jiggy, right? R.I.P. Jiggy. And Paranormal Hood Live. Remember, I said I'm a hoe. But you listen, you know what I mean? Because I said I'm gonna put this thing up back up live. I put this interview back up live, and I'm not gonna take it down. And then I took it down. Right? I'm gonna put stuff's coming back. I'm coming back. Everything happens for a reason. Anyway, blah blah. The last time I took a drink, I got busted by my old lady. Right? It's complicated, right? But I got busted on a remote control breathalyzer for a long distance breathalyzer test. And I'm sitting there in my apartment waiting for the old lady to come over with the like. It was just to officially, you know what I mean, tear me apart. And I'm just sitting there, hungover, hating life, right? and I turn on my phone, and it's that stream where you're making the announcement. So I'm gonna end it on this because this is I'm gonna tell you something as a guy in active recovery, an alcoholic who hasn't had a drink since February 10th, 2022, by the power of some higher power. Right? Check this out. Um, this is something that everybody in AA knows about. AA is supposed to be like Fight Club, right? What happens here stays here. It's synonymous. Synonymous. You know what you see here stays here. You know what I mean? The power of anonymity, whatever. You're not supposed. The most hardcore. I'm AA. I'm not gonna break the rules of AA. I'm not gonna break anybody's anonymity. I'm not gonna say anything to anybody. I'm not gonna say boo about who I see here. Whatever. Paranormal Hood Live. No alcohol for over a decade for me. Congratulations. Absolutely, baby. Um, Her name is Jonas. I talk about her mom, 26 years sober. Congratulations to moms. This is the God's honest truth. If you know anyone, and if you're in AA, you know this is a story you probably can relate to. I swear to Jesus, this is like an AA truism, like 12 steps, 12 traditions, and this is going to hit home for so many people. This is going to hit home for so many people. Okay, if you are a rocker, okay, if you have the reputation of being like a heavy metal dude or dudette, right, and you're in active recovery, okay, check this out. One day, okay, your phone rings, right? Your phone rings, and it's some other person in recovery that you know from some context, professional, you met them on a sober retreat, but they're like a total straight laced recovery Alcoholics Anonymous person, right? Never breaks the rules, never does anything, never breaks the enemy. You know what I mean? Like their lips are sealed, whatever, whatever. But they call you and you're like, hey, what's up? You know, are they using the phone? Do they need something? Like, hey, what's going on, man? You cool? You know, like, talk to me. And they're like, hey, um, listen, I know we're not supposed to do this, but you're never going to believe this. And you're like, what? What's up? What's up? If you're like, damn, I know I'm not supposed to do this. You're like, what? I was just at a meeting and Ozzy Osbourne was there. He didn't say anything. He sat in the back. He had to be brought in by like some, like, I don't know if it was a roadie or like a stage manager, but I feel like shit. I know I'm not supposed to do this. I know I'm not supposed to say anything, but I know, like you told me, like at the retreat, that you're like really into heavy metal, and I just couldn't believe it. Like I'd never seen anyone famous. Fuck. I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I, I, I I'm like, and you're just like totally like, it's cool. It's total. Don't worry about it. It's totally cool. Ozzy Osbourne. No. Everybody knows he's been in recovery for years, man. It's totally cool. It's totally cool. No. Yeah, John Larroquette. You know what I mean? He's on tape. No. He's never like, testified on giving his testimony or anything. Or but yeah, no, it's no, yeah. No, yeah, he's in rough shape. I got it. No, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna tell anybody. Be cool, man. Use the phone. Cool. Staying good out there? Yeah, yeah. One day at a time. Peace. I know so many people. I've gotten that call twice. Okay. Tim Frey. When the former old lady was living in Hollywood, she had Jan Michael Vincent pop in on her group a few times. He didn't participate apparently. People can't resist. But the Ozzy Osbourne call, I know so many people who've gotten the Ozzy Osbourne call because apparently the story was is that he would go when he was on tour. There are a lot of people that do it like this. They'll do meetings for themselves. A lot of people travel with the sober buddy. A lot of people do a lot of things. But the story was always with Ozzy was that his thing apparently was local meetings, real people, never would talk, always would sit in the back, but the knock-on effect was as he would tour the United States, Canada, this probably happened everywhere, like Europe, wherever, everywhere that he would go, immediately what would probably apparently happen was he would go do one of these pop-in appearances, right? And immediately everyone would have this like collective, you know, conscience, call about, how long could they resist telling everyone that they saw Ozzy Osbourne at a AA meeting. Well, probably not everyone, because the great thing is, right? You got to know that there were like a ton of AA meetings that the dude had to go to where nobody knew who the fuck he was, right? And people heard me say John Larroquette. John Larroquette, if you go online, if you go on YouTube and go for AA testimonials, John Larroquette is there's a ton of them with John Larroquette. And John Larroquette can like bring the house down like Miss B. And if you don't know who Miss B is, you haven't heard testimony. Anyone. Trailer Park Soda Pop. Hello, everyone. Hello, Trailer Park Soda Pop. Wow. It's one thing to do a tribute video to me. It's another thing to say that Corey Good was right. Woo! Check out Trailer Park Soda Pop. But we say hello to you, R.I.P. Ozzy Osbourne. We're going to get out of here soon, but we do say hello to you to Trailer Park Soda Pop. And we say hello to Sam Shadow. Rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. Absolutely. Absolutely. There you go. Let me do a quick jump through the live chat just to make sure I say hello to everyone. Mario Heat was first to join us, joined us up on Twitch. RIP to all the folks in heaven, including Randy Rhodes, including Ozzy Osbourne, and Puff Saunders. Though we keep hope alive, right? For all we know, Puff Saunders jetted and was picked up. Someone was like, free bearded dragon. Plan D, first on YouTube, gold medal onto you. Mario, first gold medal onto you for Twitch participation. Remember, folks, I'm on Twitch. I'm on Kick now. Okay, I didn't put any of the contacts in the doobly doo description box below because I didn't want to do anything promo wise with this thing. Tim Frey joining us on YouTube, grabbing that silver. We got Jonaside grabbing the bronze on YouTube as well. Renee Miss Jonaside joined us as well. We had Oren join us. We had Chegs36 first on Kick. Okay. Just make sure I got everybody. We had Caster Vaughn post and Tom Tremaine joining us on YouTube post the metal dispersal, but we recognize y'all anyway. Ba ba ba. Catherine joined us as well on YouTube. We had Bob White with us. We had Guttural Darkness with us. We had the Reverend Ray Green joining us as well. Paranormal Hood, of course. Boop, boop, boop. And then, last but not least, we also we have Zachary Nathanson also joining us on YouTube. My introduction to Black Sabbath was the adult animated heavy metal from 1981. Dio came first, Ozzy came second. I did it in reverse order. Hey, listen. Hey, we also have Jarvid 9. Jarvid 9, a name I haven't seen in a while. My older sister briefly dated Ozzy in 1968-69 when the band was known as Earth. Wow. Well, you grace us with your historical presence. Now get your sister over here. I kid. Jarvid 9, thank you for gracing the live stream with your presence. I'm trying to think if I have any. I've got the Japanese tarot over here. I'm wondering if I've got anything more Sabbath centric. Not really. So I'll just grab what I have on hand. Zachary Nathan goes on. The soundtrack introduced me not just to Sabbath, but Blue Oyster Cult, Grand Funk Railroad, Devo, and Journey. But Sabbath was my real introduction to the movie and comics as well. That movie was amazing, right? By no means a perfect movie, but a fantastic movie, right? The first one, not that Heavy Metal 2000 interesting journey, but that first Heavy Metal movie, a revelation, right? As a young child, a revelation. Yeah, and a strange soundtrack too, right? Devo was on that too. It took some strange turns, right? I didn't realize Dylan Carlson usurped the name Earth. Yeah, absolutely. Earth, the name Earth from the band Earth, came from the first uh, Black Sabbath incarnation. Absolutely, absolutely. Oh, look, the Lovers. Many ways to interpret this card. Ooh, and we have 23 for the number of viewers as we begin exiting the stream. 2 times 3 is 6. This is the 6th trump card. Mm, mm. Many ways to interpret this. Fans and an artist they love. Sharon and Ozzy. Many ways to interpret this card. Hey, Mama, Mama, I'm coming home. Though we might be quick to assume that the lovers are always romantic lovers. What the lovers are about is love. And we started talking about what drove Black Sabbath and what is misunderstood maybe about their music and what draws people to heavy metal and heavy metal communities. Though it might look scary from the outside. Hmm. Of all things to pop into my head, it's not an Ozzy Osbourne lyric, it's actually a Morrissey lyric. I wear black on the outside because black is how I feel on the inside. Followed by a Terence McKenna quote. Find the others. Starting to make sense? The lovers. Someday we'll find it. The Sabbath connection. The lovers. The dreamers. And we do. Philip Blair joining us. B40, B40, all of Gen X heroes are dying. But not before they lived. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive the trespasses of others. And lead us not into temptation, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Our woman, our every blessed star. 23, 22, you know what to do. Live. Rock on. And remember, I love you, I love you, I love you. And if nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. Until next time. R.I.P. John Michael Ozzy Osbourne. Thank you for the music, the memories. May you be at peace. And may the sun shine, and may blessings be upon the friends and family and the many fans that you've left behind. Thank you again, sir. Well done. Well done. Namaste.